Well, hello and good morning to everyone. It's morning in some places, and I know in the United States, I'm going to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. The rest of the world just to have a really good day. I founded the New Health Conversation, and the thing that's, I guess, difficult about this is the fact that we're the only ones offering real medical proof about diets and why calorie counting, for example, is completely next to useless long term. Every study proves that. I'm going to show you the medical proof today of why counting calories on diets is not one of the most effective things you could ever do to lose weight. Although you will lose weight on any strategy for calories in, calories out, there's no proof, never has been proof that it works as a long-term weight loss strategy. Hello, Lamar. Hello, Tammy. What I'm talking about is why calories in and calories out method doesn't work for long-term weight loss. And I don't give people opinions. Any of you that think that counting calories will cause you to lose weight and keep it off long term, I'm sorry, but you're completely misinformed. Although it's a big rage that calories in, calories out to lose weight, no one's arguing that you can lose weight by doing that. But what you need to understand is that all the medical studies prove that in the long run, it just simply doesn't work. Let's start first with Harvard Medical School. That's a pretty good one to start with. What did they say? Stop counting calories. This is from Harvard. This idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. She's going to say, drop the calories notion, says Stanford. It's time to take a different approach by concentrating on what's in the food, not how much food we're consuming. Okay? The second one, why you shouldn't count calories. Remember, I'm not giving you an opinion. So for those that want to push back and argue with me that the only way to lose weight is calories in, calories out, I'm stating the obvious here. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. And what's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories gain back more weight than they lost. So Tammy, well, I'm sure you'd be really excited about going on a diet, realizing that in the long run on every diet, the only thing you're going to do is end up gaining weight. Not only don't you lose the weight, you actually gain it. See, Water 30. Oh boy, well, I'm not even sure you're still on, so I'm not sure how I can comment back for you. I know that many people want to come onto this podcast and they want to argue with me. There's nothing to argue about when you have medical proof. And here's what the medical proof is saying. Here's another one. The calories in, calories out concept is widely considered to be an overly simplistic and not a fully accurate presentation of weight loss, as it fails to account for the complex hormonal and metabolic factors that influence how the body stores and burns calories, meaning it's largely debunked as a sole strategy for weight loss. While calorie intake does play a role, the quality of the food and its impact on hormones can significantly affect weight loss and calorie counting. So what they're saying is, yes, if you want to count calories, you're going to lose weight initially. But then, as many of you have experienced, you gain everything back. And here's why. First of all, they're even wrong, the researchers, because a calorie is not anything the body even knows about. It can't count it. It's a measurement, okay? What the body cares about is nutrition. So here's why diets don't work in the long run. So on any given day, you have a minimum amount of nutrition that you need in order to run all your organs, the brain, the heart, the kidney, the liver, etc. When you go on a diet, what you're really doing, forget counting calories for a moment, you're lowering the quantity of the food. Okay, that's step one. But also, what are you doing? You're lowering the amount of nutrition. When your brain senses there's not enough nutrition, not enough fuel, it goes in survival mode, prevents you from burning fat, and immediately turns to your muscles for fuel, because the body, you're going to die if you don't have nutrition to run all the organs, right? In that process of losing lean muscle mass, it does two of the most unhealthy things to you long term. One, it slows down your metabolism. That's why you're coming off these diets and gaining all this weight back. But the second thing it does is even worse. It also interferes with the functionality of your own immune system. In other words, how capable your immune system is to deal with everything. All the studies show every diet out there, you're losing weight, no question. But it's the most unhealthy weight ever until now. There are now 10 new peer-reviewed human trial studies that were done by the top weight loss nutrition physiologists in the world, who for 38 years ran over 100 studies, thousands of people, and they figured out why diets didn't work. And they didn't work because of that principle that when you lower the amount of food, you're lowering the amount of nutrition. And I don't care what you do, you're not going to make up for that lack of nutrition. Your body will go for survival over anything else, and it will burn your muscles for fuel, slowing down your metabolism and your immune system. Well, these researchers, what did they do? They said, could we possibly lower the amount of food we consumed, but not lower the amount of nutrition? But how would we make that happen? Here's how they did it. They developed a food grouping. 30% of the food came from your grocery store. You actually get a list. The other 5 foods came from around the world that make up 70% of what you consume on this protocol. And they came from Russia, Mongolia, Tibet, and the Himalayas, South America, and New Zealand, and represented massive amounts of nutrition, no herbicides, no pesticides, but not massive amounts of food. So they had 30% from the grocery store, 70% from these 5 foods. 2 things to take into account. 1, the researchers, they don't sell anything. They don't have a product. They don't have a company. You don't buy anything from us. 30% of what you're going to spend, you pay to the grocery store. The other 70% you spend, you pay to the suppliers who supply these 5 foods to the researchers, who the researchers say these 5 foods represent the world's first perfect meals from a nutritional standpoint of view. Forget quantity. It's always about, now this is not lotions, potions, pills, supplements. No, these are foods, okay? So now they had the food they were going to give people in the studies. And then they invented 2 completely new ways of consuming food. One was called protein pacing, where 5 days a week, they had people have 4 meals a day. Yeah, unheard of on diets, I know. They started with the world's most perfect meal. They had lunch from the grocery store, a 3rd meal from the grocery store list, and a 4th meal, the world's most perfect meal, 5 days a week. 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting. On those days, no food from the grocery store, only these 5 foods 4 times a day. And what were the results? In the first 7 days, men and women lost as much weight as any diet these researchers had ever researched in 38 years. Most women lost a whole dress size in 7 days. Most men lost 2 to 4 inches off their waist. In a month, they ended up pretty much the same amount of weight as people are losing as a year on diets, lost no water, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. And that's not even the main reason to do it. The main reason to do it is to improve also your health, because blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides all came down dramatically just in 30 days. Inflammation, for the first time in history, came down 25% in a month, and people's hunger came down 41% in the first 30 days. And in a month's time, they shrank their belly fat, it's called visceral fat, by 33%. Now, let me tell all of you this. No one was allowed to exercise. I know it sounds good to be true, and I know you're skeptical, and I know I have lots of people that say the only way to lose weight is calories in, calories out. No, that's not true. Because the thing behind calories in, calories out is if you just concentrate on a math equation and don't take into account nutrition, you're doomed to failure. As the big study says, this calories in, calories out concept is why it's considered to be overly simplistic and not fully accurate representative of weight loss, as it fails to account for the complex hormonal metabolic factors that influence how the body stores and burns calories, meaning it is largely debunked as a stole strategy for weight loss. That's the problem. We're not arguing that calories in, calories out, you're not going to lose weight. What we're saying is, in another big study, they said, while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. Now, what we've provided for you, no, first of all, sea waters, you're completely wrong. The law of thermodynamics does not apply to human beings. The law of thermodynamics is a closed loop system. The human body is an open loop system, so you're completely wrong. You're also denying now study after study after study. We're not denying that lowering calories, you're not going to lose weight. But what all the experts are saying, and what we've talked about, is when you lower calories, and your body doesn't have enough nutrition, it turns to your muscles. Every study proves it. I get this stupid thermodynamics argument all the time. It does not apply to the human body. Give it up, okay? Just give it up. And also look at the reality. We're not arguing that calories in, calories out doesn't cause you to lose weight. We're saying it's the most unhealthy way to waste weight, period. Not based on my opinion. Well, you got people like Harvard Medical School. I think they know what they're doing. Stop counting calories. This idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. Says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. Drop the calories notion, Stanford said. It's time to take a different approach and concentrate what's in the food, not how much food. Are you smarter than the top obesity expert in the world? You're giving me an opinion, which is pretty typical. And again, I'm sorry to say that that doesn't apply. And please understand, we're emphasizing again, the whole notion of calories in, calories out is completely debunked because it doesn't take into account what's inside the calorie, which is the only thing the body cares about, and the body can't count calories. So I'm very sorry to tell you that. I have this argument all the time, over and over. I have the top nutritional researchers in the world these are the top people in the world that did these studies. They're the ones that, I didn't know this. I'm the researcher of the researchers. They taught me. But I mean, you think you're smarter than Harvard Medical School? God love you. I hope you got a summa cum laude then, because I'm only sharing with you what the medical experts are saying. And look around America. If that whole thing worked, thermodynamics, all that nonsense, how could we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, and 50% pre-diabetic? And yet in these studies, they're 10 peer-reviewed human trial studies in the biggest medical journals in the world, men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet ever studied. They lost as much weight in a month as a year on diets, lost no water weight, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. That's irrefutable medical proof. Okay? All this other stuff is nonsense. And they already said in that one big study that while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. How do you think we have in the 60s, 5% of America was overweight and obese? And what have we done? We have so many more diets now than ever, and we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Please tell me what you think works as far as a diet, because they don't work long term. They're based on the wrong principle. We need to change the whole approach. Okay, lower the amount of food you're consuming, but don't lower the amount of nutrition. That's what these researchers proved. For all of us, they gave us a gift. So this argument thing about it is nonsense. Because even if it was thermodynamics, which it isn't, the results suck. Unless you think that 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. I've written 4 best-selling books to some of the top medical doctors in the world. I've done 20 shows on PBS. I did 1,500 lectures all over the world. I've lectured in universities and medical schools and hospitals, etc. I think by now I would have been, outed as someone that didn't know what they were. It's not even my research. I love it. And don't, but people love to bring their opinions. I agree, but those opinions don't work. If they worked, you couldn't have 80% of America overweight. They're saying every diet, it's never ever been proven, calories in, calories out to keep weight off long term. That's good enough for me. Do you have some alternate universe that you have statistics in? So again, I don't see any answer from you. That's pretty typical. People come on and they challenge me and they have nothing to back it up. Thermodynamics is a closed loop system. The human body is an open loop system. Lowering calories to lose weight long term has never, ever been proven to lose weight long term. So for any of you on here, if you want to count calories, God love you. Because everybody I know I'm against every other influencer on social media. I get these comments all the time. And I just try and tell people, listen. Somebody has to be the canary in the coal mine and say, wait a minute. As a matter of fact, it gets even worse. Here's Johns Hopkins Medical School. Wait till you all hear this. Study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030, where they're estimating 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese by 2030. But even more troubling, the authors notice, by 2048, we estimate that nearly all Americans will be overweight or obese. So thermodynamics, calories in, calories out, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, paleo, keto, time-restricted eating, do any of them work? No, long-term. No. These researchers, they don't sell a product. They don't have a company. They're scientists they're the top people in the world. I think we should kind of listen to what they're saying. And we provided you with a free website. No, counting fiber has nothing to do with it. No, you don't understand. It's a completely different situation. And what we've provided for you, I'll put it in the chat for you again. This is a free website where the only thing on there is the medical proof. Let me show you the website, just so you know I'm not making things up. On this website, the only thing on there, like number 1 is an interview with the number 1 weight loss researcher in the world. 2 is a more detailed explanation of what they did. 3 are the actual medical studies, the actual published medical studies, which are irrefutable. They're not editable. They're not anything. They're in the public domain. And the last thing are the before and after pictures, which if I showed them on this, I would be banned. I mean, there are people in there that lost 100 pounds, have no loose skin, men and women. But more importantly than the weight loss is the medical, the cholesterol, the triglycerides, the inflammation went down dramatically just in 30 days. No one's ever seen anything like this. And the problem is that people are so wired into this, it's like a cult, like calories in, calories out is the only way to lose weight. I mean, even Harvard Medical School said, stop counting calories. And the part I didn't read to you is most people have been taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. Cut calories, specifically 3,500, and you lose a pound. But as it turns out, experts are learning that this decades-old strategy is totally misguided. And that's when they went on to say this idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong, says Fatima Stanford, obesity specialist, Harvard Medical School. She goes on to say, drop the calories notion. What's more important is what's in the food than the amount of food we're consuming. That's what these researchers did. Well, let me ask any of you, could you even imagine if you could lose as much weight safely in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet? With no exercise allowed, women lose a whole dress size in 7 days, and guys lose 2 to 4 inches in their waist. And in a month, they lost as much weight as people lost in a year, losing no water weight and gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. I mean, what more do you want to know? And you can go and see the medical proof for free. It has nothing to do with counting fiber. There's tons of fiber. Remember, they created the world's most perfect meals. Part of what they did was made sure they had plenty of fiber. But it's a nutritional world's most perfect meal. And it's not pills or lotions or potions, et cetera. And all these people that want to come on and criticize me, that's fine. Just do whatever you want to do. But the reality is we're looking at an apocalypse in 5 years. I mean, I promise you, if 86% of America is going to be overweight, we're going to have serious, serious problems in the healthcare. We keep denying the reality. So what do? We create more new diets that are based on what? Calories in, calories out, lowering calories. And this new thing, this time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8. I mean, it's been completely debunked. No, not calories in, calories out. Sorry, let me read from the study. This time-restricted eating where you don't eat for 16 hours and eat for 8. Okay, here's a big study published in the New York Times that came from the Journal of the American Medical Association. Let me read. Again, I'm only giving you the facts. You want to do time-restricted eating and believe they're telling you that the majority of what you lose is fat and you're going to lose 20 pounds in a month, et cetera. They have no backup. None, zero. But here's the medical proof. The Journal of the American Medical Association, new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast 16 hours daily and eat all their meals between noon and 8, popularly known as the 16-8 diet, gained almost no benefit from it. And they lost an average, in 3 months, they lost an average of 2 to 3.5 pounds. And most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. Every diet that you're being successful, the weight you're losing is so dangerous. That's what the research is now saying. If 40% of what you're losing is lean muscle mass, by definition, when you lose lean muscle mass, your body slows down your metabolism, but also it interferes with your own immune system. There's your danger point. There's no question you're going to lose weight by lowering, you call it calories. It's really you're just lowering the amount of nutrition that your body is getting. That's all that's happening. When are we going to wake up and simply say that, maybe this stuff doesn't work? And if you're in the United States now, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy yourself today. But honestly, if you're thinking about New Year's resolutions to start like January 2nd on another diet, the thing I don't like about diets, take the T off. See, I mean, it's just like this mass sort of indoctrination. And we get all these comments about, these are people's opinions. But when we look at when we look at the medical proof, the calories in, calories out concept is widely considered is not accurate and doesn't represent real weight loss, as it fails to account for the complex hormonal and metabolic factors that influence how the body stores and burns fat, meaning it's largely debunked as a sole strategy for weight loss. While calorie intake does play a role, the quality of food and its impact on hormones really affects weight management. So there you go. But I have more. Let's go to another one on time-restricted eating. This one was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. See, the difference is I don't give you opinions. Why would you believe me? It doesn't matter. I'm called the researcher of the researchers. I've been doing this 22 years. I've written 4 best-selling books with some of the top medical doctors in the world, done 1,500 live lectures all over the world in medical schools and universities and towns, and they even flew me to China. but it's not my research, okay? But let's look at this study in the Annals of Internal Medicine. This is a journal that goes to all the internists in North America. And in the study, they looked at time-restricted eating, comparing it to just lowering calories. And again, in 3 months, time-restricted eating did not significantly decrease or improve glucose or weight, and suggesting that any effects of time-restricted eating on weight in prior studies was due to reductions in calorie intake. It's just another diet lowering the amount of food you're consuming. That's all time-restricted eating is. And in 3 months, they lost 4.6 pounds by doing time-restricted eating, and just by lowering calories, they lost 5.2 pounds. You're settling for a less than outcome. I don't know how many times I'm going to say it. We're not saying that reducing but it's not calories. The human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. It's some measurement, and they've measured, in a laboratory, it's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water, 1 degree Celsius. Get that out of your mind. Can you focus in on that the body doesn't run on calories? It runs on nutrition. And we all have a minimum amount of nutrition that we need to run all of our organs. And when you dip below, if the body senses less than that, it goes in survival mode, called starvation mode, preventing you from burning fat and turning your muscles for fuel. It's not a debate. It's not a discussion. That's what's happening. You've heard before, never lose more than a pound a week on a diet because it's really unhealthy. Because they're already admitting you're losing lean muscle mass if you lose more than a pound a week. But every study proves that the majority of they already said that in this big study on time-restricted eating. They said over the course of 3 months, by doing time-restricted eating, that the average weight loss was 2 to 3 pounds in 3 months. The people gained no benefit from it, and most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. How much more evidence do you need? I appreciate all of these people. They're trying to help you. With all due respect, they have completely the wrong approach. Not discovered by me, but these are the top weight loss nutrition researchers in the world for 38 years, recognized around the world. Maybe you want to challenge them. Maybe you have this alternate theory about thermodynamics and calories in and calories out and diet and exercise. None of it works. And the cool thing is these researchers, they don't have a product to sell you. They don't even have a company. They're scientists. And they used foods in combinations with completely different ways of consuming food to produce results that in 38 years they'd never seen anything like it. As a matter of fact, they even said in the interview that you can see if you go to the website, there's a long interview with the #1 weight loss researcher in the world. And he said, we would never ethically ever represent any form of calories in, calories out, calorie restricted diets to our patients ever again, because it would be unethical. He said, Peter, why would we tell people to take 8 weeks to lose weight they can lose in a week? How about taking 8 weeks to lose weight, of which 40% is lean muscle mass and water, where these people in just 30 days lost as much weight as people lost in a year with no loss of water and gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. I know you're all skeptical, but that's why we created the free website to go see the medical proof. I don't want you to believe me. But I mean, the point is that, yeah, somehow the camera got messed up. I don't know how that happened. I'm glad you dropped on. Okay, so Kim, what's the secret to losing weight? The biggest problem that our food and okay, Brad, now we're on to something. That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, and I promise, I'm going to show you all exactly what did they do, okay? We got a lot of people on here now, great. But we all suffer from this new medical syndrome, okay? That thermodynamics, the calories in, calories out has no impact on it whatsoever. The T is for toxicity, the D is for deficiency, the O is for being overweight, and the S is for stress. And every person in the world, whether you think you have it or not, you're storing chemicals in your fat cells, okay? So T is for toxicity, D for that nutritional deficiency that Brad, you're talking about, O for being overweight, and S is for stress, okay? In the studies where they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, never seen on any calories in, calories out regimen ever, They saw that this was assisting our body in removing herbicides and pesticides, Scotchgard, Teflon, et cetera, from the body. That's the main reason to do it. The weight loss was sort of the benefit of this detoxification of the body that the body was doing naturally, facilitated by these combinations. Now let's talk about the food. What did they do? How did they make it work? Okay, so let me go back for one moment. We all have a minimum amount of nutrition that the body runs on, not calories. The human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. So when you go on a diet, the reason they don't work is when you lower the amount of food you're consuming, you're also lowering the amount of nutrition. And once your brain senses not enough nutrition, it automatically goes into survival mode, starvation mode, preventing you from burning fat and turning to your muscles for fuel, slowing down your metabolism. That's why you gain all your weight back. That's why they never work long term. And more importantly, it also slows down your immune system. So yes, any calorie restricted diet nonsense, you're going to lose weight. But it's the most unhealthy thing you could ever do for yourself, especially long term. So the researchers knew that. So the theory was, it was a theory, because keep in mind, they don't sell you anything. There's nothing to buy from them. There's nothing to buy from us. So they first put together new food groups, limiting the amount of food you consume 30% from food sources in North America, because our food is almost nutritionally bankrupt. The other 70% of the food, they found suppliers who had gone around the world for 25 years to Russia, Mongolia, to Tibet, South America, New Zealand, and found 5 foods that made up massive amounts of nutrition. No herbicides, no pesticides. These weren't lotions, potions, pills, capsules. No, they were foods. And those 5 foods, the researchers said, represented the world's first perfect meal nutritionally. So does everybody get that? So the food you would ingest, 30% from the grocery store, you'd actually get a list, and then 70% from around the world. But here was the other thing that was completely unique. They created 2 new ways of consuming food that had never been done before. First, 5 days a week, they did something called protein pacing. On those days, they literally had 4 meals a day, if you can believe it, 4 meals a day. And they had them for breakfast, that meal, lunch came from the grocery store, a third meal from the grocery store, and the last meal of the day from the world's most perfect meals. 2 days a week, they had them do something completely weird, you'll think, intermittent nutritional fasting. Don't hear the word fasting. Nothing to do with fasting, nothing to do with time-restricted eating. On those days, no food from the grocery store and just the world's most perfect meals 4 times a day. And what were the results? Well, if there are any women on here, how excited would you be if you could lose as much weight in 7 days with no exercise, in a month lose as much weight as a year, no water loss, and gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? And most women lose a whole dress size in the first 7 days. Men lose 2 to 4 inches off their waist. I know it sounds too good to be true, but you got to understand, we've got the medical, these peer-reviewed human trial studies. Like someone came on yesterday and challenged me about this. I think it was called PM1D. Oh, they have peer-reviewed human trials on calories in, calories out. Well, when I went and looked, it's a scientific paper. That means 0 in the medical world. 0. So this whole argument, we're not even arguing. Yes, people are losing weight by lowering, but it's not calories that they're lowering. Let's get that out of the way. They're lowering the amount of nutrition that they have. So temporarily they're losing the weight. But once the body senses it starts to use muscles for fuel, it's going to slow down your metabolism. You're going to gain everything back. I'm sad to tell you that, because look, my own mother was morbidly obese. I never knew her thin. I never knew her healthy. And 23 years ago, she called me up one day and she said, Peter, I have one really big wish in my life. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything if I could just spend a day thin. My mom did about every diet that there was. And 6 months later, after that phone call, my mom died. I saw her lose 20, gain 25 back. I lived through fat shaming. I know what that looks like, okay? So don't think that I'm here, that I don't understand any of you that may be experiencing anything like that. But we're learning to live a less than lifestyle, because the solutions that were available to us, this whole notion of calories in, calories out, which is nonsense anyway, was really about less nutrition. I mean, how do you think your body's going to react when it doesn't have enough nutrition to run all the organs? That survival mechanism kicks in. Are you all understanding this? Does this make sense? Does it make sense to Kim or Bubba or Brad or any of you, right? The thing is that I would say 99.999% of the people, because I do so many of these and see all the feedback, they all believe that the only way to, and of course, diets are not something to look forward to. But imagine in the first 30 days, men and women's hunger went down 41%. All their cravings went away. Why? Because they never were craving more calories. They were craving more nutrition. That's what these researchers did. They figured out you could eat less food quantity, but not suffer from a lack of nutrition. I mean, anybody, put it in the chat. Does this make sense to all of you? You know, I mean, the thing is that people come on and they get off because they think that somehow there's a gimmick or a trick or another shoe's going to drop. There's no other shoe. This is for real. And I think that for all of you, let me review again. We've never argued, even though we wrote this big best-selling book back in 2000, Why Diets Are Failing Us. It was a huge bestseller back in 2010. We've had a couple updates to it since then. And our main point was, why are we counting calories when the human body has no idea what a calorie is? So instead of counting calories, let's make every calorie count. That's now been translated into make your food as nutritionally dense as possible. You can get by on way less food. As a matter of fact, most people feel once they get to the maintenance part of this, they actually save quite a bit off their food budget. Remember, you're only going to buy 30% of the food that you're currently buying from your grocery store. The other 70% from these suppliers from around the world. Most people feel they're spending about as much total on food as they are now, only you're putting. Why wouldn't you want to consume the world's most perfect meal at least once a day? Because that's all maintenance is. I mean, I lost 40 pounds 22 years ago. I've kept it off for 22 years. That's the only reason to do this. There's no question you're going to lose weight on this. You're going to lose weight. Well, like I said, you'll lose as much weight in 7 days as in 8 weeks of dieting. Most women lose a whole dress size and men 2 to 4 inches off their waist in 7 days with no exercise. I know people are skeptical, but don't you owe it to yourself to at least investigate, and it's free, and we won't even contact you if you go to the website. I'm going to put it on the bottom again. So right under your name, Brad, I put the website. It's free to go there. There's nothing to buy there. My books aren't there. There's no celebrity endorsement. There's no products. It's just the medical proof. If you like what you see, you can scroll down to the bottom and you can sign up for a free personal consultation if you want. You don't have to. So would anybody, Maria, or I see Terry, you're still on there. Great. So for any of you, are you like Terry? Are you really interested in losing weight? What have you tried before? Has nothing worked? Are you at least getting educated about this? Do you understand why if you lost weight and gained it back, it was never your fault? You did nothing wrong. It was completely the wrong approach. That's now been outed. It's been discovered that whole concept of reducing the amount of food you're eating to lose weight is completely flawed. It doesn't work long term. It definitely works short term. We've never argued that. People want to argue with me about the only way to lose weight is calories in, calories out. No, it's not long term. I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got at least 10 studies right here saying that stop counting calories. It's the only thing that matters is what's in the calorie. The only thing that matters to your body is nutrition. Do all of you understand this? Does that make sense? Again, any of you would like to put in the chat as to whether or not you have, you really want to lose weight? Are you really serious about it? We all know now, what is it, about a month away, January 2nd, many people on these podcasts are going to go on, oh, my goal is to lose weight, and you're just going to Barnes & Noble and looking up the next new diet, whether it's Scarsdale or Atkins or calories in, calories out, or whatever it is. Yes, you'll lose weight, but you're going to gain it all back or more, according to the studies. Doesn't that concern you a little bit? I mean, I just see that, we're just in a position that it's just craziness, it's craziness. So, I mean, my point is that you have an opportunity to really change the rest of your life. You don't have to wait till January 2nd. As a matter of fact, for example, I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving today. I'm going to eat pretty much whatever I want. I don't even worry about it. This is not restrictive. It's not restrictive in any way. If anything, it's expanding your food choices and expanding. It's because it's not just what you're going to be consuming. It's how and when and what amounts you're going to be consuming. It's not a diet. It doesn't work anything like that. So, do any of you have any questions? So, Terry, I know you've been on the whole time. I really appreciate that. So, I'd be happy to answer any personal. And Kim, I hope I answered your question about how this worked as far as weight loss goes. So again, and you don't have to, Terry, if you don't want to answer, it's fine. But what I would really encourage you to do then is to go to the New Health Conversation, look at the medical proof, and sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. And it really is free. They're not there to sell you or convince you or twist your arm, but they'll answer all your questions because, again, we don't know anything about you. Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to lose weight? Are you on any medications? Are you working out? I mean, all these factors factor into it. We have people as young as 2 doing this, people that are 90. We have a man with a heart transplant. And we're not treating, diagnosing, curing, or preventing any diseases. Let's get that out of the way. But we are quoting and using the medical proof that's now available to all of you. Okay, well, if there are no other comments or questions, then I'm going to conclude this podcast. I'll probably do another one in less than an hour. So if you just jumped on or you know other people that might be interested, let them know. So everybody, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.